behavior in theme park and attractions, but this year we added another few dimensions to really see if theme parks are a little bit different than other hospitality and leisure industry. So as you can see in the picture, unruly behavior is not necessarily exclusively for theme park and attractions. In other aspects of the industry, unruly behavior refers to either uncivil, disorderly, disruptive, offensive, or inappropriate conduct that is behavior that disturbs the peace or endanger the safety, the health, and well-being of our community. I apologize in advance that we're going to rush through the slides, otherwise we'll be here until 7 p.m. The goals of our research, which is a continuous research that we started in 2023, is to really look at a common social phenomena that is increasing in all aspects of tourism, hospitality, and leisure, and to do a cross-sector analysis of unruly behavior from the lens of fellow guests to see excuse me, how other guests or witnesses are reacting. So this year, we looked at 4 hospitality and tourism sectors: the air transportation industry, the accommodation industry, the restaurant and bars, and of course, theme parks. But we also wanted to look at related industry, such as malls and shops, was mentioned by this morning, streets, avenues, and alleys, outdoor natural attractions, and other public spaces. So we wanted to identify and compare the sectors where unruly behavior is witnessed the most, to assess the acceptability by bystanders of the different behaviors, to identify common unruly behavior in different sectors, to assess sectorial differences in unruly behavior, and we're looking at 8 sectors, and to assess consumer reports of their own unruly behavior, those people who actually admitted that they were bad boys and bad girls. Since I'm not defending my PhD dissertation today, so I'm going to skip the literature review section. And I just want to tell you, and trust me, there is a lot of literature about unruly behavior in the airline industry, accommodation industry, and the restaurant industry, but most of the studies really looked at the impact on employees rather than the impact on other guests that are actually using the same spaces. Thank you, Megan. We looked at some experiences in theme parks, and we also really look what really is important in terms of creating experience in theme parks, but a lot of the study did not, or most of the study did not really look at unruly behavior. Other studies were also done in some of the other sectors that I mentioned, like shopping malls, retail stores, abuse that the employees get, and so forth. So we want to address the gap in the research by looking at the different sectors and to compare them. And as you can see from these pictures, it's not exclusively for theme parks, even though we can see it more and more in the theme park and the attraction industry.
You've got quite a bit. All right, so to quench Adi's curiosity, we developed this research, and we developed a survey, and which included a 37-item scale with potentially problematic behaviors from different people's perspectives. To be able to do that, we followed a long process of looking back at the past research, but also gathering feedback from industry professionals such as yourselves. Then we conducted a survey on 588 respondents in March 2024 using an online survey platform. The respondents were screened for first U.S. residency. We wanted U.S. Residents, of course, and then being 18 years and old, older and travel within the past 12 months because we wanted to get the perspective of the travelers. After deleting incomplete surveys and those people who failed the attention check questions, we had 521 surveys to analyze. So in the survey, we asked people to rate the acceptability level of those 37 potentially problematic behaviors. The scales were 1 totally unacceptable, 7 totally acceptable. And then next we asked them to identify the sector where they witnessed such behavior the most frequently. And then we followed up with rating of those 37 behaviors in terms of frequency within that sector that they identify, whatever that sector is, theme park, airlines. And then we asked them to specify typical locations where they witnessed those behaviors, rate how often they were victims of such behaviors, and rate the frequency of their own unruly behaviors, followed by demographic and past travel behavior. Respondents were, of course, U.S. residents living in all different states, average age of 41, 39% males, 59% females, mostly college graduates, mostly married. 34% had about 2 children in the house, most with an income of $50,000 to $75,000. Majority was white, and they typically took 3 trips per year and 2 trips in the past 12 months. So the sector that they witnessed unruly behavior the most, 123 of them chose airlines, 98 chose restaurants, 66 malls and shops, 57 hotels, 57 theme parks, 49 strips, avenues, and alleys, 37 outdoor attractions, and 34 some other sectors. So just by looking at this, at these responses, you could say airlines are the most notorious sector, followed by restaurants, and on, right? So we will come back to that. When we looked at the acceptability of unruly behaviors, the top 5 lowest rated, meaning most unacceptable, are stealing from employees or guests, making threats to employees, sexual abuse of employees or other guests, verbal abuse of cursing other guests, and physical violence of either employees or other guests. Top 5 highest rated or relatively more acceptable behavior were displaying affection in public, taking off shoes, allowing children to run around, wearing inappropriate clothing, and smoking. The yellow line is pertaining to theme parks. So the only behavior that was above 4 point, which is the midpoint on the 7-point acceptability scale, was displaying an affection in public. That's the only thing that is acceptable for this group, the entire group. And all other behaviors, such as stealing, threats, and etc., they were all below the 4 point, which is unacceptable. So when we compare the groups in terms of the acceptability level, if there's differences, there was no statistical significance, which means everybody across the board, regardless of the sector that they chose as they most frequently witnessed unruly behavior, the expectations were similar. When we looked at the top 10 most frequently witnessed unruly behavior, 1 being never, 7 being always, allowing children run around talking loudly, using profane language, littering by throwing trash, displaying affection in public, lack of patience, leaving bathrooms unusable, disturbing other guests, delaying others by not following rules, and displaying domestic dilemmas. The yellow column is pertaining to theme parks. Although there were slight differences in terms of which is the highest in what sector, overall these were the most frequently witnessed behavior. The most frequently witnessed by all groups was talking loudly, screaming, yelling, cheering, or shouting, followed by allowing children to run around, potentially due to mega trends. Other frequently witnessed behaviors varied by sector, potentially due to the characteristics of those sectors, like theme parks, for example, allowing children to run around, play, and make noise, talking loudly, screaming. These were highest rated for theme parks context because of the dynamics of this consumption setting. Frequency of witnessing unruly guest behavior, the statistical analysis with One-Way ANOVA showed that sectors differed on 24 of the behaviors, airlines being the most notorious, followed by theme parks, surprisingly. Theme parks were rated higher than some other sectors on 11 behaviors. This was a surprise. When we asked them where they witnessed such behaviors, the majority, the most problematic point of witnessing those behaviors while waiting in lines for service, followed by while experiencing the products. Although there are some differences between sectors, that's more or less the same across the different sectors. The themes and the frequency, we grouped the different behaviors to see if there's any commonality, any grouping. So we used principal component analysis for that, and factor one was harmful deviance, including a lot of the unacceptable, highly unacceptable behaviors. Factor two was disturbing deviance, and factor three was irritating deviance, displaying some of the lesser but acceptable type of behaviors. For both frequency and acceptability level, we had these three factors. Just quickly, harmful deviance, disturbing deviance, irritating deviance, significance level in terms of acceptability in that order. And in terms of frequency, irritating deviance, harmful, disturbing deviance. We're not going to go in details because we don't have time. When we compare the different sectors in terms of those general themes of problematic behavior, again, interestingly, theme parks were significantly higher than airlines and restaurants. This was unexpected, but it was only on the disturbing deviance factor in terms of frequency of how much they experience those behaviors in theme parks versus the other groups. When we asked them if they have been victim of unruly behavior, the responses were between 1 never, 7 always, 3.02 for theme parks, and the other sectors were also similar. There was no significant difference. So it wasn't very frequent, but there were some disturbances. And finally, self-report of unruly behavior. How much did they? 1 being never, 7 being always. Interestingly, the hotel group had significantly higher report of their own unruly behavior while they were using hotels. So if we had that for each sector, like theme parks, significantly higher while using theme parks, we could suggest some theories to explain, but this looks more like an anomaly, actually, rather than a pattern of behavior. Now, Adi will close up.
Yeah, I have 1 minute and 6 seconds, so I will try to just close up and perhaps maybe share some potential theoretical and practical implication. Number one, we saw that there is a diversity in terms of unruly behavior or guest behavior in the different sectors. We saw big differences between restaurants and hotels versus theme parks. And the question why we have different types of behaviors that are more prevalent in theme parks, and this is based on what was discussed earlier today in the presentations as well as in our keynote speaker, it's space. Theme parks are actually targeting families. Children can run and scream and shout different music than yours, Carissa. And this is why we see it over there. Other issues that create stress are associated with standing in line. And breaking the line is linked to some social fairness. It's a sense of powerlessness of people in line, and also long line force close proximity. This is why they complain about hygiene. Okay, guilty. Okay.